Ben McLemore. They say that he's probably going to be sentenced to more than 8 years in prison for rape. I couldn't believe it. Somebody actually put me up on this story and they said, Anton, you got to check out this story. And it was last week. And I was like, what? Ben McLemore. You know, when I thought about Ben McLemore, I was thinking about McLemore, the rapper. Remember the rapper, that white rapper that had blew up for a little while or whatever? I'm like, man, he caught a charge. And then y'all sent it to me in my email. And so I checked it out. And I was absolutely like, I can't believe that this is happening. So let me bring y'all up to speed on what's going on with Mr. McLemore. He took the stand and he talked about what he was dealing with. And so basically, just to give y'all a little bit of a snapshot of what's going on, he was accused of busting down a snow bunny. I know. Y'all keep on coming to me every day talking about how much more awesome the snow bunnies are and how good they are and how awesome they are and how much better they are than every other woman on the face of the earth, including black women. And I say that they are all the same. And as a matter of fact, there are cultural differences between them, right? Every woman has cultural differences, negatives and positives, even though the nature of most women are the same. For example, black women tend to be louder than other women. Now take that for meaning for whatever you want to say, but black women tend to be louder. Louder in the home, louder when they argue, louder and belligerent, all of that tend to be. Now, is this applicable to every single black woman? Of course not. Of course not. Because if that was the case, then I wouldn't be married. White women, in my opinion, tend to be a little bit more chameleon-like. Listen, if you catch a case from a white woman, if you get divorced from a white woman, if you got to go to child support court for a white woman, and I don't know why all of these men are so blind to it, but you probably have a 10 times more likely to get convicted, have to pay child support, or to give up half of your stuff than you would if you was to have to go through that with a black woman. It's just the facts. It just is what it is. I know y'all don't like stereotypes. All of a sudden, you only like it when it's applicable to men versus women, but you don't want it to apply when it comes to white women versus black women versus Asian women. White women play no games. They play no, if they feel some sort of shame after they get it bust down for a real one, guess what? Nigga, you gonna be on trial and you might go to jail. I don't care if you're a former basketball player. I don't care what you are. You might go to jail. You will have a strong possibility of, boy, you better spend that 20 million like Diddy did on his defense. Better spend that 20 M's like Diddy did on his defense. You might go to jail. You might be in prison, big dog.
Was there any point along the way that you thought
Former Trailblazer Ben McLemore took the stand in his defense on Thursday, telling his version of what happened at a house party where he was accused of raping a woman after a night of drinking. McLemore says the evening began with bowling before team members met at Robert Covington's Lake Oswego home for cards and drinking.
But I was just, just being there and just enjoying the night and just, having that time with my teammates and stuff.
McLemore testified he encountered the alleged victim in the bathroom after some of her friends asked him to help move her to the couch because she was intoxicated. McLemore said he eventually fell asleep on that same couch and then woke up a few hours later with that woman's hands down his pants.
Fondling me and basically rousing me. So that's what pretty much woke me up. Again, I'm in deep sleep.
That's when McLemore says he began having sex with a woman, an encounter he describes as consensual.
She didn't show no signs of distress or discomfort.
Just throwing it back for a real one.
Give me no signs at all or alertness.
So they was both drunk. They went to a party. They went bowling. They was with teammates. They let these little young snow bunnies come to the crib. They was drinking. They both sitting on the couch. Chick threw up in the bathroom. That would have been the sign for me right there. You know what? You throwing up? Nah, I'm straight. I don't even really like drunk chicks like that. So next thing you know, he wake up. She got her hands on a black snake moan. Then she pulled her pants down. Black snake moan. He bust her down for a real one. Let's continue.
Of that.
McLemore says that he and the alleged victim never spoke with each other before, during, or after the encounter, and he left Covington's house immediately after they had sex. During cross-examination, the prosecution argued the alleged victim never consented to sex with McLemore.
So basically what they're trying to say, the prosecution was saying, was you basically practically got to ask, and you have to ask only when she's 100% sober. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but the day after that when all of the alcohol is out of her system. Hey, can we bust it down for a real one? Yes, Ben. And then you can proceed. And if any point she shows some level of discomfort or she says, I don't know, you got to pull out. You got to keep it moving. You got to step away. And even then, it's her word against yours. There's no evidence. There was no rape kit. There was no anything. This was her saying that I don't know if I'm happy about the fact that we busted open for a real one. I don't want to hold accountability for putting my hands down his pants. And what I am upset about is the fact that he blocked me and he didn't speak to me and he didn't give me his number and we didn't get to talk and I don't get to get that NBA dating or even get a picture with him after we busted down for a real one. What is the best way to avoid putting yourself in this situation, y'all? Pop quiz. What is the best way to avoid putting yourself in this situation? Some people will say, we'll just get married. No, that doesn't prevent anything. That doesn't mean that somebody can accuse you of doing something that you didn't do. Anybody can accuse anybody of doing anything that they didn't do. What is the best way for you to avoid somebody falsely accusing you or saying that something happened and it didn't happen or saying that they didn't consent and all of this stuff? Some people are also going to say, well, you make them sign the paperwork. Well, yeah, of course, that makes sense. Marcus G says self-control, AD. Well, guess what? Self-control does not prevent you from having an accusation. Anybody can be Me Too'd. Anybody. Bro, there are women from 30 years ago in New York that's basically saying because of the New York survivor law, hey, this person did something to me 30 years ago. Bill Cosby got Cosby'd from 40, 50 years ago. These women are old hags, and they went after him. Trump got accused and sued in New York based off of a woman saying that she was in a department store and he wanted her or something like that, and he didn't even get accused of anything outside of like wanting her or something. He's man, I ain't never seen that chick before in my life. This was 20, 30 years ago that she's saying that this thing happened. So, no, it has nothing to do with self-control. No, it has nothing to do with any of the things that you guys are saying at all. At all. None of it. People are getting accused whether they want to or not. Two answers. The first one is that you really can't avoid putting yourself in that type of situation because, again, anybody can say anything whenever they want to. And with that being said, what you have to start doing is only kicking it with, aligning with, and rocking out with people that have something to lose. And this is why I tell y'all can't keep talking to the chick in the McDonald's line. Stop talking to chicks and dating down. You have to rock out with people that are equally yoked, because people that have just as much to lose as you are less likely to put you in a compromising position because they don't want to hurt themselves. And they're rarely to never, very rarely to never, ever going to accuse you of doing something that you didn't do. Because there's no upside in it for them. Let me say it again. This is the dilemma of when you continue to go up and go higher, is because your pool gets smaller. And that's why people that are at a higher level, that are the smart ones, they tend to only congregate with other people that are in that same sphere, because you're not going to get a person that accuses you of something that you didn't do because they have just as much to lose as you. And more importantly, in most instances, obviously I'm not saying never, that goes without saying, but when you deal with people that have just as much to lose as you, you're less likely to find yourself in a compromised position. but you can never stop it completely. But the thing that you can do is put yourself in the best position possible. And I'm not even talking about just dating or relationships. I'm talking about your inner circles. You can't hang with everybody. You can't be with everybody. You can't go and chill out with the chicks that's at the party because you a big old figure or you got a lot of money and all of that other type of stuff. You can't just jump out the car and start shooting dice on the corner. You can't be in the same spaces as everybody else. And I know you still want to keep it real, but what I'm telling you is that you have to start thinking about how you are going to suffer if and when something was to ever happen and how to prevent yourself from being in those situations in the first place.
I did say on direct, it was one of the most terrible things I've ever done in my life.
Right.
Having sex with an unconscious woman would be one of the most terrible things, wouldn't it?
I'm gonna say unconscious, but that moment was illegal.
Brandon the Great says, to be honest, most women have little to lose, which means you can't deal with most women. Which means that if you are a man of means, significant success, and if you are going to go you can't deal with most women. That's the whole idea, is that you have to start separating yourself and making sure that you are not in the same spaces as everybody else.
Even without saying anything was definitely a terrible one of the.
The trial will continue tomorrow here in Clackamas County with more.
Somebody says, nah, bro, look, this is a person that's going to advocate for him to do 8 years. Nah, bro, no real man is busting down a drunk chick knowing what it could cost him. So they both drinking. They both getting drunk. They both wake up in the middle of the night. She got his hands down her pants. Could he have made a better decision? Yes. That's not what we talking about. It's not about being a real man. It's about whether or not he deserves to go to prison for almost a decade. And no, he doesn't. So we can have two conversations. The first conversation can be, oh yeah, you got to make sure that you don't do things to put yourself in a compromised position and be more situationally aware. Agreed. But don't tell me that somebody is not a real man because they got accused of something and the chick consented and wanted to bust it down, but then all of a sudden she wanted to change her mind and feel some type of way about it. Then all of a sudden he not a real man. Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop. Stop. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. No, I'm not going for it. Everybody is consenting adults and everybody should be held accountable. And if she didn't like the fact that it probably wasn't some good D, he might have only lasted 2 minutes and never got in contact with her again. She probably feeling some type of way.
Guilty of the charge.
Former Portland Trailblazer Ben McLemore showed little emotion after a Clackamas County jury found him guilty of rape following a 2.5 week trial.
I don't know if y'all really know. First of all, the chick was mid. Probably a hot 3 or 4. That's number one. Number two, NBA players have no problem getting boxed. So y'all just sitting here talking. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just sitting here talking. I don't even know why I'm having this conversation with some people.
The jury convicted him on 3 counts: first-degree rape, first-degree sexual penetration.
All right, chill. You said so. Drunk women can give consent. All right, so let me ask you a question. If a man is drunk, and because we live in a world of equal, I like this conversation. If a man is drunk and then a woman is mid drunk, let's just say she buzzed or maybe she even sober. Let's give a best case scenario. And he wake up and her hands is on his jock. And then they wind up busting it down for a real one. Can you say that he gave consent or did she take advantage of him and should she do time in jail because he was drunk? If she's sober, because they both was drinking, they both was drunk, they both had drinks, whatever, it was a good night. If he's sober or she's sober and he's drunk and then she has sex with him, can he prosecute her for not being able to effectively give consent? I want to make sure that we all on the same page here. If she reached for the D, but he's drunk and she's sober, should she go to jail for not being able to get consent from him? Because why is consent only one way? And if we equal, and if we live in a society where we value men just as much as we value women, and men have rights too, should we apply that same logic? Because if you can't apply it for one way, then you shouldn't be able to apply it to the other way. Come on, let's talk about it. Why is the responsibility for grown adults only applicable to men is what I'm asking. Why is the responsibility for consent only one way? Why is this consent only one way? I need y'all to be able to have a conversation, not just based off of what you see the situation as being, but I need you to objectively observe it and look at our rules and our laws and evaluate it based off of that. It is no way that if she puts her hands in his pants for you to tell me that he should be convicted of rape. That's not rape, bro. I'm tired of y'all changing the definition of things to fit y'all narrative because we have these feminist things. I've always observed and have known rape to be, or I've always thought growing up, that this is a man and a woman is screaming, oh my God, no, all of this stuff, or he put a date rape drug in her drink, or, you know, he forcibly takes it, knocks her over, beats her up, and then takes something forcibly, and then that's what you consider rape. That's what I've always, the definition has evolved so much over the years that if you blink wrong, if she seems uncomfortable in the process that she's already consented to, that can then be considered it. But then if you'll say, well, he shouldn't have been dealing with a broke chick, you'll automatically convict him and say that he should have been situationally aware. Come on, man, wake the fuck up, bro. Stop, bro. Because then this translates into a civil suit. Now she's going to try to sue him civilly.
And second-degree sexual abuse. Prosecutor Scott Healy.
You just don't do something like this to somebody and get away with it. I don't care who you are.
Prosecutors say McLemore raped a 21-year-old woman at a party in October of 2021. The assault happened at the Lake Oswego home of McLemore's then teammate, Robert Covington. During trial, the woman testified she was incapacitated after a night of heavy drinking and unable to consent.
There was no evidence, no rape kit, no police report, no none of that. This was a person later on coming up and saying, you know what? I don't think I consented. I'm mad. And that should not be the proof that you need in order to get somebody convicted for the rest of their life.
McLemore admitted he'd been drinking as well, but testified the sex was consensual.
She didn't show no signs of distress or discomfort, and didn't, give me no signs at all.
The prosecutor described the victim as brave for coming forward, reporting the crime, and then following the long road to justice.
Crime victims don't often report these cases, even when celebrities not involved. So she was very brave to do that. She followed through. She stuck with this. And, I think she's in a much better place now, and she can start the emotional healing process because she is very emotionally traumatized by
the emotional healing process.
Following the verdict, sheriff deputies took McLemore into custody. The former Trailblazer.
It's messed up. So that's his life. He will be known probably more for this trial than he will be known for what he did on the basketball court.